today, February 16th. No, today's the 15th, 2024. As you guys are aware, we need physically 7 people, members present to vote upon information. So what I'd like to do initially is do a roll call.
Ms. Parker? Mr. Hunter?
Present.
Mr. Hess? Mr. Snipes? Mr. Seroy? Mr. Dunnell? Mr. Kirkstra? Mr. Smith? Ms. Armour Earps? Mr. Ashcraft? Ms. Monday?
Present.
Mr.
What it's worth.
Scanlon? We do not have a quorum in the room.
Okay, we don't have any public comments. We can't approve the minutes. Wes, you want to go through your report? And also, as you see on the agenda, we can't even take action or even open up the bids
Right.
for the circuit clerk's office. Wes, you want to go through your report?
Yeah, well, obviously the first item on the agenda was the bid opening, which obviously now cannot happen since we do not have enough people in the room. So I'd like to, apologize to Doug and Justin for wasting your time here today. So please accept my apologies on that. A lot of time and effort and energy went into getting this all ready for today. So like I said, I do apologize, and I'm embarrassed that we can't get this done today. So with that being said, I mean, you guys are free to leave, I assume. I mean,
Okay.
if you'd like to, since
Thanks, Wes.
I'll follow up with you later on today with a plan as to what meeting and when. But you can
I'll just leave these here.
leave the bids, and we'll get it moved to another meeting. We'll try not to have any delays. So thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'd like to say in over a year, this is the first time that this has ever happened. So sorry it had to be today.
All right, so moving on, facility dude report for the month of January. We had 148 work orders in the system. The financial report that you have in front of you there, I thought looked pretty good. We're going to have some more expenses coming in. I'll go through my building report and detail some of those expenses that are going to be coming in. But are there any questions on the financial report? Not a whole lot there yet, only a couple months worth of expenses. Moving on to building report here at 189. If you recall, last month's meeting we talked about the panics and upgrading those. I'm still working on that with our vendor, and actually still awaiting a proposal. Actually, I think they're tied up with the courthouse right now and the upgrades that we're going to be doing there. They've been working with the sheriff's department on that as well, so that is in process. Also begun working with the chairman on some pre-demo assessment of the treasurer's building. If you remember, we talked about that at last month's meeting. Need to have a pre-demo assessment done to find out what's in the building before we can tear it down. So that process has begun. The muffler at 189, when you walk in here, you can tell that it's still not done. I believe it was about $1,500 for a custom pipe that needs to go inside that unit, so I gave them the go-ahead on that, so awaiting the fabrication of that unit. The garage heater at 189 here is shot. I gave authorization to get that repaired, or actually replaced, well past its useful life, so we'll get that replaced, and that's in the garage here. At the courthouse, the awning is done. Anita, do you know how to, can you put those photos up there? Has anybody been by the courthouse to see the awning?
I have. It looks great.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. I've been here 6 years, and we've done a lot of projects over those 6 years, and this is probably one of my favorites. I think I think it really turned out well. Yeah, you can just scroll through them if you haven't seen it already. That's obviously the entrance with the county logo up top. Just the side view. Inside of it, going down. So there you go.
Wheelchair can get through there?
Yep.
Pretty well.
Yep. So that's it. But I mean, like I said, we've done a lot of projects, and I think this is one of the best. I mean, I'm really happy with the way it turned out, the color, the way it ties in with the railings, the lights, the logo, and then right there at the entrance, if you recall, we're having a custom steel gate fabricated that's going to go in right there at the entrance. That maintenance will unlock in the morning, and then the sheriff's department will lock in the evening. So it's not weather tight, but it's pretty darn close. They're at the corner where the ramp changes direction. They had to get pretty creative with some of the angles there. But all in all, like I said, really proud of that one. So I think it looks excellent. I think it complements the courthouse. I think it looks great. So awning is done. Happy to cross that off my list. Like I told you, the panics at the courthouse are in process. Met with a company last week. The chairman asked me to begin some preliminary investigation on some lighting at the courthouse. And I don't recall if we talked about this at last month's meeting. We get a lot of requests throughout the year to change the colors at the courthouse. And in order to do that, I have to order film. My guys have to cut the film. They have to bring it up to the lights. They have to tape it on there. It's a cumbersome process.
Well, let's go back to, because Andy mentioned the same thing that I mentioned since I've been here. You think about the Kennedy thing up in Chicago. You know, during the different seasons, they change the lights and so forth. And I'd like to see some kind of display on the courthouse as well.
Yeah, so I looked into. I actually met with a vendor that does a lot of work in Chicago, and to put a display, it's called projection mapping. And to do anything like that, you're close to you're probably around $1 million to do that. So that kind of when I heard that, I was like, oh my goodness. So
and it loses its effect. The display loses its effect if it's not on a flat.
They said they could do it.
Wall.
They said it could be done, but I was it was an exploratory thing for me, obviously, because I've never done anything like that before. I've seen the projection mapping, like we talked about in Chicago on the merchandise mart and some of that stuff. But yeah, I mean that's a whole lot of money to spend. The lighting can be done for much less. So I'm going to continue to look into that because I think obviously the courthouse.
But that was the only vendor that you talked to, right? I'm not looking for a Mercedes.
No,
I'm not looking for a Volkswagen either. But.
Yeah, but I was just trying to get some ballpark information. So, I mean, I can certainly talk to someone else as well. And I actually did. I reached out to a couple different vendors. This was the only one that got back to me. So.
Oh, yeah, for $1 million, I would too. Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to continue to look into the lights. Like I said, the courthouse is obviously the focal point of the downtown community. If we can do something with the lights there and really, light it up for various causes throughout the year. It's something that I would like to try to do. I'd even looked into doing the yard lights, and then with the yard lights you can do them, but you'd have to run data cabling to all of the yard lights. So there's conduit there. I mean, you could run the wires, but that would get expensive running data cabling to each and every yard light that's there. So once my schedule gets a little more freed up, I'll do a little more work on this, and we'll figure out if this is something that we're interested in. But the process has at least started. Sandy's remodel that obviously we couldn't open the bids here today. The plan, and I hope the plan can be, we move this to finance, open the bids at finance, and then it would have to go to full board for approval in March. And then we're hoping to commence the middle of March at some point. So that's the game plan. If there's any comments on that or any issues with that, let me know, but I would like to still try to meet that middle of March construction start for her. And then of course we've been working with her on plans, getting some of her people moved to accommodate or just to get the space ready for construction. Where those people are going to land, I'm not exactly sure, but my staff is and will continue to work with Sandy as we get ready for this project.
Let me ask you this, Wes, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong. All of you guys were there Tuesday. I thought she said something about putting some of her staff in the cafeteria.
The break room, yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying that.
Yeah, she said lunchroom.
Yeah, that's kind of unacceptable. Did I hear that correct?
No, if you stop
fact that what she's moving personnel around so they can still do their work and still stay in the building. That's an asset that we have. That's
Temporary.
that's a choice that we have according to get the other problem fixed. Otherwise, you have to move them out of the building.
Yeah, we only, you guys know the building, we only have so much space, you know, so I mean, we only have so much space, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. What number are you? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, continue. I'm sorry.
Say that again.
Yes, mention it again.
Mention it again? Well, what I was saying is that we're doing the remodeling of the offices. This is basically what it's come to, and there's not enough room within the office to remodel it with all of the people in there. So the cafeteria is a space that can be used for people to do their work in the building and still remain in the building if needed. Otherwise, we have to move them out of the building and probably pay for an office space outside of the building.
Right.
So it's financially, it's a good move, and as long as it's not disrupting the usefulness of the break room, it's basically being utilized. It's, you know, an open space.
Right. Yeah,
So-
and what she does with her people is, you
Right.
know,
Right.
is her
But I mean,
prerogative. So,
you know, even with that, as I said, if that's not satisfactory, if the employees don't feel that it's satisfactory, then the only other option that she would have would be to rent a space outside of the building,
Yeah. Has there been
and that
a
would be a cost on her budget.
has there been a space needs assessment at all, Wes? That you know of?
well, I know, yeah, we engaged
Yeah,
a
that
vendor
was-
to perform a pretty
yeah, a couple of-
substantial space needs assessment, I think a year ago.
That was more than a year ago. I think it was
2020,
about 2
so-
years ago, maybe,
Yeah.
or more.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Moving right on.
Moving on. Annex and Old Jail. If you recall, we had a pretty substantial water damage issue in one of the offices there. Those repairs are complete. I was in communication with the sheriff on that. We moved on it. That came to about $25,000 for ceiling work, drywall work, carpet work, some plumbing relocation. The water mitigation came to about $8,000. And that's in the old jail in the office area. So it's done. It looks great. And worth noting, when we opened up the walls in a couple of those offices, it really validated the need for the tuck pointing work that's going to be hopefully happening here this spring. So it was eye-opening. Boiler repairs are done. If you recall, at last month's meeting, the state fire marshal came through and inspected our boilers. He had a laundry list of upgrades that he wanted to see this time around. And his orders were to get on it. So we got on it. We got them done. I haven't got the bill for that yet. I'm a little nervous to get the bill, but it was something that we had to act quickly on. Per the state fire marshal's inspections. So I'll be able to share that bill with you next month, see where that came in at. But the repairs, like I said, the repairs are complete, and then we submitted all the certificates, and we've gotten those back. So we've got certifications now for the boilers at both of those locations. Dishwashers have been delivered out at JCDC. Last month we discussed the sheriff is going to pick up and pay for the new dishwashers on both the inmate side and the kitchen side at JCDC. Those are both original dishwashers to the building. And as we've discussed at this meeting, I can't find parts for them. If I need parts, I have to find aftermarket parts from overseas to put into these units. So something that needs to be done. And again, thank you to the sheriff for stepping up and covering the expense on these. Water damage to the hallway. So a couple weeks ago when we had all the snow, the rain, the freezing, we had a lot of water pooling on our roofs everywhere. We had water issues here. We had water issues at the courthouse. We had water issues at the downtown jail. And JCDC. I think the only building I didn't have a water issue at was the annex. We had a significant amount of water coming into the hallway by the kitchen at JCDC. We've located the issue. We've got it fixed. I'm waiting to repair until I know for sure that that they've got the repair made. And as luck would have it, we haven't had a whole lot of rain since it's been pretty dry the last couple weeks. We had a light pole replaced after high winds knocked it down. That was a few $1,000s. It was on the south side of the jail, and that's been completed as well. So like I said, we got a lot of expenses coming through. You know, the financial report looks good right now. Next month, it's not going to look so good. Now we move on. The next item on the agenda is the courthouse elevator discussion.
Can you give us a history, as much information as you can?
Yeah.
But I know you'll have to do it again at finance, I would assume. But we need to hear that.
Well, I need to figure out what the solution is. So I've been working with our vendor that we use right now is Kone Elevator, and I've been working with them on a potential solution over there. So I'll read you an email that I received from Kone, and basically it says, "We've confirmed what Jeff has said below. There is nothing we can do to this elevator to add a battery backup type of system. If you're interested in tying the elevator into a generator backup system, that will take a software upgrade for the controller. If you're interested in pursuing that, we will need to work with you to find proper specs for the power between the generator and the elevator, and I'll need to get a quote for the board and software upgrade. The other solution is a complete modernization of the entire elevator, but we understand that is a long and expensive process." So basically where we're at on this is an old traction style elevator. And per current code, we are not required to have any type of battery backup on that unit. That elevator is grandfathered because of its age. Question?
What's your number? 9. Okay. Smith?
At this point, is this a safety issue?
I don't believe the elevator is in proper working condition. That's what I will say. It's inspected annually. We perform preventative maintenance on it several times throughout the year. It is in proper working condition. The issue with the elevator is, in the event of a power surge or a power loss, the elevator goes down until the power comes back on.
So at this point, would we be better served looking for an alternative plan to move people around? And I know you're limited on all that, but I
Move
mean,
people around where? Like, what are you trying? What are you?
from floor to floor. In the event the elevator, we lost power.
I don't.
I mean, you got the stairs.
I don't know how you accomplish that. And
If you're in the elevator, you're in the elevator. You're
Right.
just stuck in there indefinitely until the power comes back on. That's it. Period. And I'm sure we're not the only building where that happens, but
It happened a while back, and we had the fire department out, and they were able to get the people out of the elevator. So I mean, they were able to get them out, but it's just, I think at this point, to go through a modernization, if you remember what it entailed going through the modernization here in this building, that was a several month process. I don't know that we have that luxury at the courthouse. I don't know. We don't have 2 elevators there. So, question.
Right. I guess what I was wondering was if there were some type of manual way to move that elevator.
When it shuts down, it shuts down.
Kershaw, you got those mules ready?
It's an emergency stop. Wes, with the
Design of the building and the structure, is it possible to pick a new area for a upgraded to put a new upgraded elevator system in and still use the old system until that's done?
Well, if you just think,
or would that be an engineering thing that would happen?
Boy, that's way over my head. I mean, I'm just trying to think, if you were to install, like when they put these elevators they put in here were not here when the building was built.
Right.
And you can see the elevator shaft that they built outside of the building.
Yes.
I don't know where you would do that
Okay.
at the courthouse, because the whole perimeter is offices and courtrooms.
Yeah.
So without I guess if you wanted to go in and lose an office or lose a courtroom and redesign and put in a new elevator shaft outside, I suppose you could probably do it.
Yeah.
I think it would be an architecture and engineering nightmare.
Yeah.
Doug would probably tell us he's not interested.
Well, what I was Well, with even with the possibility of not even going inside the structure, but maybe a standalone outside. I don't know if I'm explaining that quite the
No,
right way.
I understand what
If
you're
you
saying. I just
understand what I'm saying.
where would you propose? I guess that we make entry into the building. That would be my
Yeah.
issue, is trying to wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
I think, my opinion,
Yeah.
if I asked for, and this has been a several week process. I've asked for more information on the software upgrade
Right.
to the system. So I want to get some numbers on that, see what the software upgrade is going to be. Once I get those numbers, I've already started some preliminary discussion last year with adding a generator just for the elevator. So what our options are, once we do the software upgrade, we're gonna have two options. We can look into the cost of putting, which will probably be around $500,000, put in a generator for the entire courthouse, which, I think it's the only building I have that doesn't have a generator.
But that would solve the problem completely.
It sounds like with the software upgrade to the controller, the adding of the generator would solve the power outage issue
for the courthouse.
for the
period.
courthouse. So
Not, let alone, not just the elevator or
Right.
the elevator alone, but for the courthouse.
we can do we can do a generator just for the elevator, or we can do a generator for the entire courthouse. Obviously, if it's just for the elevator,
Yeah.
you're probably, 75% less than what it would be if you did the whole courthouse, obviously. So, that's the direction that I would like to pursue, because I think it makes the most sense. It's the most efficient, that hopefully the least amount of downtime with the elevator. So I want to get those expenses together, and I can bring those back, at next month's meeting. Obviously, I'm working with Kone. I would reach out to another elevator vendor as well to, have them look at, offer advice, direction, and bid as well. So whatever we decide to do, we're gonna have to go out to bid on it.
Right.
So, but if everybody in the room is, if you think that's a good direction, we can't take action on anything. But
Right.
if we
I
like
think,
that,
I think that sounds like a more reasonable direction, because I was at a misgiving because I haven't really looked at the elevator, but I was under the impression that it was a lot older than what it was, and didn't realize that we can upgrade it, still possibly upgrade it to
And I-
adapt it to this process. So
and I don't know all the
I would say
details.
go-
This is the first time I've gone through anything like this, so I'm learning too.
Yeah.
So we'll see what the software upgrade entails, the cost, the time, how long the elevator will be down. If it can be done on a weekend, et cetera. And then so that's the direction I'm going to head, if that's okay. If
So
everybody-
basically, this is a maintenance upgrade, it's not an emergency.
it's not an emergency. Like I said,
Well,
it's
Bones thought it may be an emergency expenditure, but anyway, you're clarifying it a lot more. And I think it's appropriate to have some options, short-term, long-term, and where you're explaining this.
I agree with that. My thoughts on that are, we have time to look into this, and we don't have to jump on the first thing we find, and,
yeah.
it's my thoughts. I was under the impression that this was an emergency, it's something that's gotta happen right away, because, for obvious reasons, but if this is just basically a general upgrade and everything is working properly,
Yeah.
then we have plenty of time to look into this at this point, and no
Yeah.
one wants to get caught in an elevator.
Yeah, and the folks at the courthouse are concerned for obvious reason, and I think myself and as the board, I would hope that we all are cognizant of those feelings, and that, while we do have time, I'm not going to take my time, if you understand.
No, and I understand
So,
that. Yeah.
I think you're heading in the right direction, Wes.
Yeah.
I agree with that. As Ken said there, it was under an impression that it was more of a security issue and safety issue than anything else, which it is, but it's not of a
Right.
critical point to where we have
Right.
to do something about it.
It's the same elevator that's been there for years, doing the same thing it's been doing for years. It's,
Right.
It's just that one time it stopped and had people inside of it.
Right.
and because
So,
of it,
and I
because of
understand. I don't want to be caught in an elevator no more than anybody else. So if this is something that we can do and I can look into to, hopefully have happier employees over there, not to mention, the public as well, it's something that I'm going to I'm gonna move quickly I'm gonna move as quick as I can.
So you'll have that information hopefully by finance.
That might
I'll
be
do
a
my
little-
Well, by our next meeting,
I'll do
I
my
mean,
best. I just have to get with them to figure out what the information is, and then I need to go to another vendor and get that verified, and then figure out, hey, yes, we got to go out to bid on this. You know, so there's several things that are going to have to happen here.
And plus, you know, you gotta find out where the funding's coming from. I'm not sure you wanna tap into the 6 million that Joyce got for us for the courthouse. But,
Yeah, I don't. Those conversations are above my pay grade.
Yeah, so that's you guys are gonna have to make a decision on that, where you're gonna get the money from.
Yep.
It's not, you know, as Andy mentioned, the chairman mentioned, it's not gonna be cheap. So, anything else more on that?
No, that's all I got. So I'll have an update for you at our next month's meeting on that. We can't do this either, but I was going to ask for approval on replacing 8 shower doors out at JCDC. So
But that's gotta be done though anyway, right? But I know you need authorization.
yeah. So maybe we take that to finance as well.
Yeah.
Then the other thing on here for discussion was Judge Cunnington asked me to look into the possibility of putting up some handrails at the courthouse. So everybody's familiar with and again, we can't take action on this either. So, I mean, I don't know why we're going to discuss it, but everybody's familiar with the steps at the courthouse, right? You know, specifically the first set of steps is very wide, and he wanted to inquire about the possibility of putting a handrail in the middle of those steps. And then as you turn and go up, there are no handrails on the walls. I mean, you can hold on to the banister or the railing or whatever you want to call it, the marble, as you go up one side, but there's no handrail on the other side. So I see his point. It's not an ADA issue per se. Like I said, they've come through, they've inspected the building. That is not something that they have identified. I think, would it be a nice accommodation for folks that are using the stairs? Sure, I think it would. It's just a question of if we want to do it, when we want to do it. We've done a lot of accommodations between the basement remodel, Sandy's area, the awning, etc. Just if anybody has any thoughts on this, I guess
Let me ask you
happy to
this.
listen.
Anita and I were talking about this before the meeting started, about needing historic preservation approval. Is that a part of it?
I think this is something that would, we want to make sure that it ties into the courthouse and looks nice and complements it, of course. So, we're not going to put in a bright orange handrail or anything. It would have to be something that we'd want to work with Doug Bright on and kind of get his thoughts on something that, might look from that era, whether it's like wrought iron or, I don't know. This, again, that's something that I don't have a whole lot of experience with, but I mean, if it's something we want to do, I can start the conversations, get some pricing together. Possible. No, I don't think we'd have to go out to bid on that. Maybe get a couple different quotes. So.
Okay.
well, the older I have gotten, I will tell you this, handrails have become my friend. So
I get it.
I appreciate Judge Cunnington's thought on that.
Mhm.
I do tend to use them regularly now.
Anything else? Any other comments? Anything else to report?
That's all I got.
Okay, Anita, anything you got? Any Snipes?
Yeah, I need to, I'm looking at the Attorney General's opinion here, and I think that we need to kind of look at this, because I'm looking specifically, they give us a 5 ILC 120/7D, and it basically reads in part, the requirement of Section 7A of the Act that a quorum of board members must be physically present at the location of the meeting shall not apply because the board, which is this committee, does not have the that thing that went back to a small statutory authority to make binding recommendations or determine. Let's go back here. Binding recommendations or determinations. The board members may attend a meeting remotely. Let's go back. This thing keeps going down and
Snipes,
down.
I hear what you're saying. I tell you what, that may be something that we need to get.
I'm thinking, but it speaks to us as far as them actually being here or wherever, and can be considered part of the quorum, because on the remote, if in fact that, and because it talks to the quorum, I'm looking at the county code as far as the quorum is concerned, and it says physically present, but the Attorney General states that the physical presence is present as long as they contact the county administrator to let them know 24 hours that they'll be attending the meeting. So by visual. So I think it's something that we kind of need to look at. And this got approved in April of 2022. So what I'm just saying is just something really to the statutory authority make the binding recommendations. The board member may attend a meeting remotely for the purpose of satisfying the quorum of members and voting. Board members attending the meeting remotely are entitled to vote as if they were physically present at the site, provided a quorum is in total. That means everybody, including on the camera, in attendance of the meeting. Members who are not physically present will have their votes reflected as having occurred via remote attendance.
With all due respect, I understand your concerns and comments.
No, I'm just saying for purpose of information.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
I think what we need, and I appreciate the comments that you're making, but we're going to need something from Roe, and we'll govern ourselves accordingly. So
that's why I was speaking here, so they can, when they refer back to this
yeah, I'm sure that
meeting.
what Andy did when he came in, said we couldn't do A, B, C, and D. I'm sure he checked with Coughlin or Roe on something. So we'll get something, and because we don't want this to transpire again in the future.
Right.
Any other comments at all? Final comments at all?
No, that was, the other thing I want to ask is that when we were in this meeting and we approved, did we put any earnest money down when we had that bid? I mean, when we
The 60-some thousand?
the 60-something thousand, did we ever put any earnest money down?
I don't know.
I don't, and I would, because what I don't want to do is start getting to a situation where in good faith, we put earnest money down, and then a person comes back later and says, I'm not going to take it from the county because the last time I looked at your meeting and we did this, we got slapped in the face. So, and I think the majority of the board at that time on billing grounds basically concurred into the purchase. And so I'm just wondering if there's any legality that can slap us in the face if we now put something down to purchase, and then
I don't know if that was even a part of the discussion.
I think we had something to build on ground, so we wouldn't. Only way we would know is if money was actually put down, and if it was put down, that means the county board would have had to vote it for that department.
But I don't remember that even being part of any discussions at all. But we'll, we can check.
We just want to check it and see.
Yeah,
I just want to know.
And there being no, well, we're not really dealing with business. This has been informational. I'd just like to thank you guys for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here physically and remote. A lot of these matters will be referred probably to finance, and hopefully next meeting we'll have the requisite amount of members present so we can conduct business. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.